Hey, hello, how are you? Okay, I just felt really led, so I'm just gonna go ahead and take my time here. I'm gonna go ahead and do for divine feminine and divine masculine. Okay. All right. Okay, these are some of my favorite cards. They're considered archetype cards. Okay. There's a You don't have to worry about reading reversals and things like that because ultimately the light and the shadow are on both of the cards. All right, let's go ahead and get started for the month of July. This is the general. All of these spreads that I've done so far, they all are general. So this will be a general energy. It may not resonate with everyone, but if it does, great. And hopefully we're just praying for clarity, understanding, love, and more fellowship. Okay? All right. Let me go ahead and I'll just cut the decks. I've already shuffled them, so okay. Okay, so now I've cut them on screen there. Okay, so all right, so let's go ahead and get started. All right, so okay, I'm masculine energy, that of a mentor, maybe being mentored, maybe needing to learn something. Okay, it says passing on wisdom and refining a student's character. Okay, so there's something that you're transferring and then you're refining. Okay, the challenge in a relationship, regardless of the sort, is that as a mentor, you have an inability to allow your student to move on to the rule of master. So some type of authority issues, okay, or where you're being controlling regarding learning. It says imparting false instruction. So this could also be where if you are in a relationship, your truth and your honesty, it needs to be given rather than you holding it back to keep this person from really understanding what a master is and whether or not you represent a master. Okay? Or whether or not you represent mastery. Sometimes with the more that a person may learn about us, then they see that we're not quite as saged as this sage wisdom. See, there's the moon. The moon, bringing things out, bringing things into perspective. That might not be, that you may be loving. You might be loving. That depends. If you're doing this from the perspective of light, then you may be very well loving. But also the shadow side of that, you notice that the green is down here. And generally with the chakras, orange comes first. But when you're doing this in the shadow, then orange becomes the controlling factor because this is about ideas and destiny. So then this is about you sharing your ideas, your destiny for this person. Okay, rather than that being allowed to develop on its own. You see she's in white. White is representative of the Kether crown or Sphera in the Kabbalah, as well as in Judaism. And so this represents the will of the Father, the ultimate will of our Father in heaven, Heavenly Father, okay, the divine. This represents that. And that ultimately that's being shadowed. You want your love to be freeing. You don't want it to be smothering. You want it to be sheltering, but you don't want it to be where it's keeping something back. So there's both light and shadow on that. Okay. Divine feminine, mediator. Mediator. Often acting as a go-between. Okay, this is from, all the purple in here. Comes from peace. So maybe You know, there might be an issue here. It's not just because they're masculine and feminine cards. I just started with masculine first and then feminine because initially that's the way that it started in the beginning in Genesis. So it's not about a particular preference more than the other. Not at all. So mediator, the light attributes of a mediator is your gift for negotiating fairness and strategy in personal and professional life. Respect for both sides of an argument. So you're respecting both sides. Are you advocating or arguing for something from this male that you're not receiving? That's if this is a relationship. If this is from a spiritual perspective, is there something that you need that you're maybe kicking up against? You know, because it says the shadow side of it, negotiating with the ulterior motive. That maybe spirit is calling you to a higher, sense of devotion and that your ulterior motives for why you're doing what you're doing, even though it looks great on the outside, that may be coming into challenge or perspective. Okay. But ultimately, you may have a good gift, but now it's time to either take it to another dimension or let's look at the root of why and maybe heal that. Okay, because the purple is closer, is with speaking, and purple is higher up, closer towards the Kether, the crown, towards the will of heaven, the will of Heavenly Father for you. Okay. You know, the will of heaven for you. The spiritual will of how this is exacted and this is executed. Okay? So ulterior motive or hidden agenda, either personally or professionally. Okay? So if this were in a relationship, it seems like both people are kind of keeping some things back from each other. Okay? Or that both are needing to definitely mature. They both have strong suits. Sorry, let me go over. They both have strong suits, strong characters, strong abilities. But those same abilities could be clouding their relationship. Okay? They can either grow it or stifle it. Okay? Ultimately, look at this. The resolution is the mystic. That's the resolution. The mystic. And interestingly, the mystic, it's all purple for the mediation. It has the child, which looks a lot like this lady here, who is previously a little girl right here. And yet, look at those wings. The wings aren't green anymore. The wings are white. Okay? The declaration here is the mystic. Maybe that both mediator and mentor need to be a little bit more spiritual. Is representative of Ketu. It says, I am spiritually wealthy. And you know, when you're moving from a mindset of being spiritually wealthy, that I have spiritual wealth, which means I also have physical wealth because I know how to get it. And spiritually wealthy, if I have wealth in my spirit and my spirit is eternal, then my wealth is eternal. So then therefore I don't have to negotiate with any ulterior motives or insecurity, nor do I have to keep things back. If the knowledge that I'm giving is spiritual wealth to this individual, then why am I keeping certain things back from them? There's no need to. This is the resolution. And all of these are new cards too. Okay. These are just by a particular author that I really love. So that's why I got them. I found out that they were like, oh, wow, they have cards. Nice. Okay. And then I felt just led to get these when I was just surfing Amazon. Okay. Next is... Okay. Next is trickster. Trickster. Okay. The trickster is transcending conventional conventions, stuffiness, and predictable behavior. That's the light side of it. That this is it's a transcendent card. Okay. Masculine. Okay. Actually, let me put these in the right order here. Okay. It's a masculine card. It represents someone you know. That they're transcending convention, the conventional way to do things, they're trying to find ways around it. That's what he's doing here. Anything that's predictable, he's trying to get around that. Okay. That could also be kind of very well attached to this here. The predictable thing as a young person is to ask more questions, and then if you're in your shadow of this, which is manipulating others through duplicity, not being quite who you say that you are, not being where you say that you are, this we're in a relationship, okay? That from a spiritual perspective too, until we're mature enough to handle certain things, there are certain things that we're blocked from. That was even resident in the garden. Okay? So the shadow side of that, this would be from a human perspective, not really acting in the divine, which is the divine mode of this particular character. You have to transcend. Okay, you have to transcend things that are predictable, that do things that, and that's why sometimes people have struggles when they will read, biblical or any type of, not just the Bible, but other spiritual, because, well, it seems like you're saying one thing in one part, and then you're saying something different in the other part, and that's because the person has set a precedent, and people kind of stick to that one precedent rather than looking at that, okay, before the convention gets old and archaic and predictable, that things are being changed up a bit because to actually mimic the world that we live in, that are and actually that when we do this properly, look at this purple too, like the mediator. It is success. It's purple too, that is successful. Okay. Okay, for you, dear feminine. Ooh, the addict. The addict. The first thing I see here is pushing back emotion. Okay, pushing back emotion. Confidence, that's pushing back emotion. That's stifling emotion and pushing it back. This might be you. This might be how you're feeling. With the addict, it says it helps you to recognize and confront addictive behavior. So any type of codependency or something that's built on emotion rather than out of confidence, you push against that. That might be your challenge. Or it could be you're pushing back the emotions because the person you're dealing with is more egotistical. They're more into their confidence, okay? They're more into their self-esteem. They have much more self-esteem than you do. And so you're trying to balance that self-esteem with emotion because it says to compromise integrity and honesty. So if we're speaking something that's true, but we're not really being forthright and honest, we're using our emotions kind of as a cover for it, then we end up compromising the integrity and honesty of whatever it is we say, allowing an addictive pattern to have authority over your inner spirit, because water represents spirit, but water can turn emotional if you're manipulating or maneuvering it that way. It can just turn into emotion. And even Christ, in the New Testament, he says, worship, he says, the Father is calling for and seeking people who worship in spirit and in truth, because you can have spirit without truth. You can have truth without spirit. You can have truth with little emotion, which makes you kind of cold. With little emotion, it's being stifled off. Look, it's lots of air on this side. It's dry on this side. It's dry down here. Could make for a dry relationship Could be something you're facing or something that you're doing yourself. You know, where the person is trying to connect more with you, but you're holding that back, or you're holding back a lot of your emotions because of, to try to show that you're confident in this relationship, because the person is being more airy, cerebral. Okay. I'm not really looking at your emotions, maybe. The resolution for that, the resolution between the two is the king. Is the king, which could also be like the sun sign. Okay. But what does he say? He says, I powerfully lead my mission. But ultimately, if you are in a relationship or in a ministry or anything of that sort, you're on a mission. Okay? You're on a mission to mediate. You're on a mission to be a mentor. Even in your relationship, if you're in a personal, physical relationship, that is supposed to bring out the king in you. And the king, he's a leader. But he sees his leading, his powerful leading, not as a dictatorship, not as keeping other people back and keeping people from him because he's got such an entourage. No. Rather, instead, he doesn't want people to be addicted to him. He doesn't want to be addicted to their emotions and stuff either. He wants to see it as a mission. It's a journey. It's a mission. Okay? Something he's got to complete and look over and review and attend to. So the mission, the mystic, and then the king. Okay. Masculine. Samaritan. This is rescuing someone. So if the feminine, their emotions are all out of whack, then that puts you more in a rescue stage, which continues an addict type of behavior. That I always need to be rescued. You have to rescue my feelings, my emotions, my insecurity. Rescue me. I'm wounded. Rescue me. That's not really the purpose of it. Okay? Okay? Because you're a mentor. Remember? The light side of being a mentor is that you do have something to offer and that you do have something to teach. All right? The light side of the Samaritan, the light attribute, is going to be refining your character, refining your capacity to help those you would prefer to ignore. Is it difficult to connect? If this is a personal relationship, is it difficult to connect with this female? Because, is it easier to ignore them because they are wanting rescue all the time? Okay. So the challenge here is to find that balance, because it's about refining your character too. You don't have to play savior all the time. But it might be important if you're not doing any of that, if you're not connecting emotionally. This is kind of fueling this behavior to continue, because this person obviously cares maybe about you, and they're going to just keep doing this until you show them in a sense that, okay, whatever type of mediation, you can talk to me. I am a king that you can talk to and that you can address. You don't have to manipulate with your mediation. Notice how she's holding them, but their backs are turned to her. So, dear feminine, divine feminine, you want to be going in the same direction as spirit is truly leading you, not against the current. Could this be what this relationship, if you do have one, what it represents? Going against the current. Taking a very lovely gift, but taking it against. And in the process, needing saving. Okay? Now, it says the shadow side of it. is exacting appreciation. That's why previously the king, he brought out, it says it's a mission. He powerfully leads it. So he's not overbearing. The shadow outside is exacting appreciation and recognition for the help that you offered. If you helped someone, if you cared for someone, even if maybe you liked someone, and you know you helped them, but you wanted to do more, but they're not quite letting you do that at this time. Okay? Just be careful of our motives here. Okay? So, this is the Samaritan. You know, and maybe now that the agenda isn't what you want it to be, well, you're trying to ignore them, but they still need your help. There's some, you know, as far as being divine with your masculinity is to do what's right, you know, regardless of whether you're getting the agenda that you're trying to meet met or not. Okay? If you can be a help, if you can be of service to help them, okay, or capacity to help them, then why won't you? Okay, is it because, that's the next one, feminine, gossip? Okay, so we went from mediation, we went to addiction, and then feminine, we went to gossip. Maybe there's talk. You don't want to get your actions misconstrued the wrong way. And every time you say something or you do something for them, they're talking to someone else about it. It's getting back to you, possibly. So it says the gossip awakens consideration for the feelings of others, honoring trust. Could this also be a result of maybe pushing some distance? That ultimately, because of that, you know, you didn't quite honor some trust, because the shadow side of it, you might have shared something, but the person you shared it with, they didn't honor that trust, and now it might be coming back to bite you a little bit, to give you a little torment. Okay, this is the shadow, because the shadow side of it is thrives on the power of passing on. So thrives on the power of passing, and this, you know, even here, this first one, we see he's kind of closed. He's not real open yet. So before you begin to start talking about whether it's a date or anything like that, if this is the person you're connecting with, and you really feel that this person, you know, is your connection person, before you start passing on information, or it says betraying confidences. So here's the confidence. And this, you know, here, this is maybe how you feel. This person is very confident, egotistical, and they're pushing you back. They're pushing back your emotion. They're pushing against you. And it could be, is it because they're trying to protect it? Not so much they're trying to be mean. Not so much they're trying to be, you know, manipulative or a trickster and not say what they mean. I mean what they say. Okay? But because maybe something that you might have said and that you need to acknowledge. Okay? That has ultimately put them where they don't feel that they're confident quite with you. That they've got to kind of keep you kind of at an impasse in order to retain their confidence in the relationship. In order to retain their confidence in themselves, in the purpose or future of the relationship. Okay? How do we resolve that? So how do we resolve this between the Samaritan and the gossip? Oh, he did this for me. He bought me this. Oh, wow. How do we resolve that? What do we get? The great nurturer. The moon. The great nurturer is going to come to fruition if you've been saying things. And this is a guy or something that you like. He's going to find out. Okay? It won't make him feel good, so it's better to use those skills you've got to mediate Now would be the time to mediate. Okay? So that there isn't a sense or feeling of trickery that develops where there's a bit of guarding and manipulation. And so this is about a lot of, seems like directness, a pure honesty rather than, just solely emotions. But that is, the honesty is being had on emotions. It says, I give and receive nourishment. Okay? The mystic, the king, the nurturer. I give and receive nurturing. It also brings up the moon, which a lot of times is symbolized, which in here too, motherly. Did you say something? Maybe you didn't say it to others, but you said to your mom or his mom. The mother, nurturing, devoted, loving, wise. She is all these things. Inclusive. Yep. Inclusive. She'll include you. Okay. Generous, receptive. She's a receiving. She's a receiving. This nature, and so maybe you want to, you're wanting to be a little bit more overt. You want to take things to the next level. However, this nature isn't so much. It's overt. But you want this person maybe to receive your love. If you want them to receive your love, the masculine or feminine, you want him to receive your love. You got to take this nurturing issue in a whole different light and perspective. That the love that you want to express, it needs to feel nourishing. Not like duty, but nourishing. Not like authority, but nourishing. That if you are, in a sense, mentoring this person, teaching them how to love you. Maybe they're immature. They're still immature. The will is for you guys to be together, but they're still kind of immature. So you've got to teach them in a way that's nurturing. Not that doesn't make them feel like they will never catch up to you or they will never mature where you are. If this is yourself, dear feminine, okay? But ultimately acknowledging that, okay, I've got some tendencies. I might have some tendencies. Gossip, mediation, which is leaning on supporting other people. Okay? That can be used in a good way. It's negotiation. It's really this guy. Okay? Just without people. This is with people. This is for people. Okay? Same character. Is this guy. Okay. I may have these and they're underdeveloped and there's so much I could learn in my relationship with this person. Whether it's a teacher, whether it's somebody that you affectionately care about. There's so much I could learn, but I won't get there. I won't enjoy this stage of being immature and infantile in the process, in the journey. I won't enjoy it if I can't receive their nurturing and I can't be nurturing back in my own way. And that my own way of nurturing, okay, is listening empathetically. It's not pushing back my emotions, but sharing my emotions. Allowing this person to interact with my emotions, but not over flooding them. This is imbalance. Doing things in balance. Doing things commiserate to the relationship. If one person is further along than the other. Humility. The great nurture is about humility. Humility, not pride, not authoritarianism, not, being overabundant, overarching in one area or the other. That's not going to get it. That's not the way. Okay? Nurturing. So we've got the mystic, we've got the king, we've got the great nurturer. I'm all about, and threes are great. Don't get me wrong. But you can see the balance of power here, that it's needing to be balanced. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go for the door. Okay. Woohoo. Okay. So when we go for the door, 4 represents the door. In Greek, it's the Delta. The Delta, sorry. Okay. Which is like the highest star. Okay, the Avenger, masculine. Desire to balance the scales of justice, to avenge. This is the door. Okay. We can get through this door. This may be where you started. Okay. Okay. Then, you know, this is where you started on the journey. This is where, you know, you made a foundation. Okay. Once you made your foundation, you know, this is maybe where you made your foundation of transcending. So as a mentor, you need to transcend. Once you transcend, a part of transcending is to refine. Now there's constant activity here, and now we want to stabilize it with the door. The door, of course, is avenging, desire to balance the scales of justice. This is being able to go through successfully on both sides without having the light and shadow of being a mentor, having the light and shadow of being the trickster, having the light and shadow of being the Samaritan is resolved in being a door. Avenger, desire to balance the scales of justice, the righteousness on behalf of society or oneself. So doing what's right by you and others. Don't ignore it. Okay. Don't manipulate them. Don't manipulate yourself either. If this situation isn't working. Okay. The shadow side is to resort to violence in the name of a cause. So that's not how we avenge ourselves. We don't get revenge. If something's happened, if the gossip or whatever was hurtful, then vengeance is not going to help this person to see where you're coming from. And just from the looks of it, it seems like the person ultimately, they might have made a mistake. Because they are, you know, lesser mature. And being the divine feminine and masculine energies, they're both present in all of us. One of us may be in a relationship, this may be one more than the other, that is more the masculine, more overt, and the other one is more feminine and subverting. Okay. Ultimately, the person, they made a mistake. Because there's love here. It's the Dawn Wand. Spotlights your positive, seductive qualities. Interestingly, this same person, these same colors, they're carrying into here. That ultimately, this is how they feel. They feel quite confident in this relationship. They feel very romantic in this relationship. Okay. And so, however, they don't know how to, they got to learn from you and maybe communication, or maybe they need to open up instead of talking to others to try to get advice. Ask you personally, can you teach me how to love you? Because I do love you and I want to do the things, say the things, act in the ways that feel loving to you, that make you confident. You notice now she's wearing the red. Make you confident in me. Okay? Maybe you need to ask that question of the person, depending on who's the feminine or masculine. Even though we have these in us, this is a spiritual relationship. Asking prayerfully how to go to the next level. How do I show you now? I know that I've showed you in other ways. I might have been a good Samaritan. I might have even gossiped a little bit and made some mistakes. I might have, been a mentor. But now I might be being challenged professionally, spiritually. How do I show my love for my Creator as well as for the world, so that they're confident in who I am, confident in who I'm becoming, and who I can be. Okay? This is you, feminine. This is your step up. Okay? How you resolve that? The resolution to that? The line that draws you two together? The celebrity. To celebrate each other. It says, I lead with my light. Okay? I lead with my light. That even though you've made mistakes, you have light too. This mother is going to learn as much from this child as this child does from this mother. Lead with your light. Bring enlightenment. Not vengeance. Enlightenment. If you're hurting, masculine, if you're hurting, bring enlightenment. Lead with your light. Lead, mentor, with light. Light. Okay? Lead with the light. Both of you. No, she can't lead the dance. Because generally, when you are dancing, the male is supposed to lead. She can't lead with the dance, but she can provide so much energy towards his leadership that it makes the dance light to do, easy to do, not difficult. When you have a person that's really not wanting to dance with you, or they really are not, trying to let you lead, it makes it heavier, harder. Light isn't just about light and dark, but light isn't heavy. A heavy load and an easier one. Lead with your light. Okay? All right. So let's just go over these. There's the mystic. You have to be a little bit mystic. Don't share everything all the time. Okay? To gain and keep each other's confidence. Everything, especially the spiritual essences of your relationship, even your relationship with God or Creator or whatever you like to call higher power, certain things about it need to retain a sense of mystery. Mystic. Okay? But that you're most definitely a leader. And just because certain parts of it are mystic doesn't mean that, okay, well, it's a mystery. Well, tell me everything, and then I can tell you whether it's good or not. No, I'm good regardless. I don't need everyone's advice, everyone's mouth on what I'm doing, because I'm a leader in my own right. All of us are. It's all about the way that we lead, however. And how are we supposed to lead? We're supposed to lead by being a nurturer. We nurture. We nurture what we lead. We also light and highlight the good aspects, not just the wrong ones, but the good aspects of what we're leading and where we're leading, okay? Okay, so that is the Divine Masculine, Divine Feminine relationship spread for July. I hope you enjoyed. God bless.